Yeah, go ahead.
So, Aug,
Yes.
we're here.
Here.
What are we
made
doing
it.
here?
It was quite an adventure. We met we've been here before. AI Tinkers was here a couple weeks back. Alexander mentioned to me in the chat group, hey, robotics in this particular part of town, because it's sort of far. I mean, it's not an easy place to get to.
That's true.
And
It's
so-
not Causeway Bay.
No, it's not. And so we, through happenstance, and now we're here again. So AI Tinkers, we had a nice deep dive a while ago, and
So
now we're here
where
again.
are we? We are at this place called Auki Lab.
Auki Labs Research Center, 10th floor, CTF Life Tower. Yes.
Thank you, Auki Lab.
Thank you, Auki Labs. Thank you, Sherlyn. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Nils. Yes.
And what are we doing here?
Well, this is another funny thing. We're here to learn about the AI community in Hong Kong, right?
Yes. So for the past year, I've been on a wild ride with the AI Tinkerers. And I think that what I have seen is that there are two groups of people. There are one group of people in Hong Kong who are seriously working on AI.
Oh, yeah.
And then there are the other group of people who are seriously talking about AI.
Well,
And they are not the same group of people.
yeah. Well, but we need people to talk. But yes, there's
And
yeah,
I
talkers
kind
and
of want to bridge that gap. So
That's right.
well, I want the people that who's been seriously working on AI to start to
Yeah.
seriously to tell us what are you guys working
This
on.
is the thing. Like people like Alex and me, when we're working with the AI, it's just like we don't even really come out. We're in our caves.
No, I need you to
We need some sunlight. This is a great venue. So thank you again,
thank
Auki
you,
Labs.
Auki Lab.
Thank you again, Auki Labs. So,
And
yes.
so we'll be here for the next couple of weeks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of the AI, the real AI people, to get out from their cave to really tell us that what exactly is AI. So no advertising, none of the fly-by-night cowboys.
Yeah,
Give it to me straight.
very Tinkerer style.
Yeah, what is
Raw.
AI?
Raw.
So, who are you? First,
It's a very big topic. Oh, well, we have another story. We've known each other for many years. So
I'm
this is
gonna
another
hold that
This
story
is another background.
so that people have to actually keep watching it to actually get to know
Okay,
it.
so we talked about this yesterday. If you want to sum up my introduction or my experience with AI, it's sort of like midlife crisis AI. Okay, so this is the beginning of my journey. Well, actually, the beginning of my journey with AI started when I was in school in UCSD, cognitive science. That was sort of what it was called back in the day with neural
In
networks.
layman terms, computer nerds.
Yes.
So you do programming and coding, that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, well, I did all sorts of things in enterprise software space. I did tech support, I did consulting, I did architecture, and I did engineering at the end. And then in 2023, my dad dies. I get laid off because the company was retreating from China. So there's geopolitics is in AI too. So geopolitics affects sort of work and also
The word
AI.
geopolitics is in everything right now.
Yes.
I remember about 3 years ago, I started to do book reviews on RTHK. And the second book that I was actually reviewing was talking about geopolitics. And they asked me, like people, my producer asked me, what is geopolitics? But I think by now, if you don't know the word geopolitics, we might do a different series.
That's a different podcast,
yeah,
for sure,
we might
for
do a
sure.
different series.
So
But-
so continuing on, dad dies, out of work, and I'm trying to focus my energy. I remember my dad was very much into the I-Ching. He never talked to me about it. And so when I tried studying the I-Ching many years ago, it was too difficult for me. So then I thought, hey, why don't I try to use this thing called AI to help me learn the I-Ching and maybe build something around it.
AI and I-Ching.
Yes.
On the surface, they don't seem to have anything to do with each other.
Yeah, well, they share a letter. The way I like to view the I-Ching is basically an ancient divination manual. It's a book of poems and stories. And so I just started using it. Yeah.
For most layman people, they're understanding the I-Ching or the Yi-Ging
Hi,
is
yeah.
basically there's those little like almost like barcode looking
Yes.
like
Stacked
like
lines.
and then they actually you can manhua, right, that definitions, and then it's kind of there is a accompaniment poetry to it.
Yes,
and,
couplets and everything.
but they have a lot of historical reference to it, and not many people know much about it. My friend Samyat Fei,
Yes.
he is one of the master that I know in Hong Kong. A lot of people, like, he has his own channel and he talks about this kind of thing.
Yes, very talented.
But for a guy grew up in America.
Yeah, grew up in Queens, Joe Schmo. I grew up watching Seinfeld.
And don't read any Chinese.
That's right.
And
Lots
all
of
of a sudden,
disadvantages.
Like your late fathers, like, study the I-Ching, and you kind of want to follow your dad's footsteps.
Well, when you get older, so my second parent dies. That's the beginning of my midlife crisis. Then I start wondering, what were they like before they had kids, right? So when you have kids, you change. It's not about you anymore. It's about your kids. So then I started thinking about, well, maybe I could try to learn more about what he was like, assuming he studied the I-Ching when he was younger. So I started going on this journey about learning, this exploration with the I-Ching, and I didn't know any masters. So I just asked the AI to start learning about it slowly. And then I started, hey, wouldn't it be great to build something that could help people learn the I-Ching? And there
So let's step back a second.
Okay, we're going back.
Like, before you started to do this project on I-Ching, did you work on AI before? Did you use AI?
Not really. I mean, I used them as a chatbots originally, and I used Cursor when it first came out.
But for most of us, right, like, for layman interaction with AI,
it's just ChatGPT, right?
ChatGPT, DeepSeek,
So
is that AI?
Yeah, I would say yes. So let's go back. Eliza, we all remember, the older folks in the audience, remember Eliza, the chatbot. And we would say, like, hey, if you really, and then there's a Turing test. If you can't tell that it's a computer talking to you, if it can pass the Turing test, then you actually have AI or maybe something sentient. Which I think
for the longest time, that's kind of what we rely on.
Yes,
right? We
yes.
say the Turing test.
Yes.
We say that like, if there's something, the Eliza was the first one that was in the 70s.
It's very basic green terminal. Yeah.
So a green terminal, someone who can talk to you.
Yes, very basic.
And then but if you cannot detect that it's actually a machine talking to you, at least there's no one operating behind it, that might be what we call a sentient being.
I think we as humans, we get bored with things easily. So we're getting used to the level of intelligence that we have in chatbots today. And we sort of discard it. We say, oh, we're not at AGI yet. And I agree with that.
And then we had another hit, like, around the world that, like, for layman people, is AlphaGo.
Ah, yes.
When a machine can
thinking game. Yes.
can play a game that they thought that computer can never do.
So that's another level of intelligence because, we've always had computers that could play chess, but Go was thought like too complicated. But then the guys at Google, they sort of figured it out, and they did all sorts of other things with protein folding and so on. So yeah, I mean, that was a big milestone, beating that Korean Go master. But yeah, no, AI, if you talk about what AI is, when I was studying cognitive science in college, it was very basic. It was very small neural nets, and I just tried to train something that knew how to play poker very basically, but it was very horrible, and I used to have to block time on the computer, and the terminal was connected to a larger mainframe, and you had to share time. And now, it's just a completely different world. So, but as I was saying, we as humans, we get used to the level of intelligence and we always want more. But I would say we've surpassed sort of the Turing test. If you just take yourself out of it and just look at what's coming back to you in the chat window nowadays, they are very believable as characters and as people.
I don't know whether those are pieces that are done by the TV, like just for fun, but every now and then you get a TV stories, and especially in America, that someone's falling in love with a chat.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue. Yes.
Yeah, that they think that their chat is their best friend or even better than a wife. Yeah.
So I would say, when we start building these AI systems, the first thing is we just want to get them to work, right?
So AI system, we have AlphaGo that seems to know how to play Go, and then I've seen some that who seems to be be really good at playing hide and seek, and then lately we see like what we call LLM, large language model,
yes,
and that's what GPT is like, and DeepSeek. Those are like talking.
Yep.
But I think the last few weeks that the words it's on this thing called C-dance.
C-dance.
Yeah.
Talk to William about that stuff. I'm not. Yeah.
Oh, so we have another character.
We need to rope in the researchers in the Tinkerers community.
So
I'm more of an application. Me and Alex, we're sort of similar in many ways. We're more the application layer, focusing on user experience and trying to get the best out of the models. And this is, I wanted to continue my thought before. We were so focused on getting these AIs to work that we didn't expose the internals, and that's how, how I want to build things now.
What do you mean exposing the internal?
I want to expose more about the internal thinking process, how the AIs arrive at what they're telling you.
So it's almost like when I see like DeepSeek, the DeepSeeks tell me like this is how I actually figured out this thing.
What we call the reasoning traces. So the downside of treating these things as black boxes, to your point earlier, is certain people can have sort of unhealthy relationships with these things because they're not exposed to what it's actually doing.
Well, I'm like, let's explain this a little bit.
Okay.
Right? So very often we come across this word black box. It's because it has to do with how the AI is being trained. And so my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that imagine a human basically holding a school, and then we employed like some sort of model, like some algorithm as almost like the schoolmaster. And the schoolmaster is training like, all these students, these AI students in the school. And then they kind of, they go and figure it out, things, and then they take exam. If they pass, they stay. But we don't really know how their learning process are and the process between them and the master. And that's what we mean by black box.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers of complexity to get to that, even understanding that analogy properly. But there are some articles written about talking to the AIs and asking them what the training process was like.
But that's like a dumb way of explaining what the black box is, right? It's possible, that analogy.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it like this. Neo, he knows Kung Fu now. Okay?
Yeah, from Matrix.
From the Matrix. So I would say that's sort of similar, it's like a stressful, intensive training process to train a model. And it takes a lot of data. It's very inefficient. It's highly parallelized, meaning it's and so there's a lot of layers to that. But I would let's do. William would be a much better person to talk to about those level the training details.
Thanks to Auki Lab, we're going to be here for the next couple of probably months, and our goal is, at least at first, right now, is to get through everyone in the AI Tinker. And so each of you guys are good at something. And
I think we all have our journeys, right? So when we ask for demos at AI Tinkers, the outcome is also important. But for me, I'm always curious about how they got there, the learning journey.
That's a lot of stuff to explain. Sorry, I have to stop you. So AI Tinker is a like a loose organization.
Yes, global.
It's a global organization and have different chapters. And you guys founded a chapter in Hong Kong.
So yes, Timothy founded it. I met Timothy. So Timothy is sort of hilarious because I applied to demo at the very first AI Tinkers in December 2024. And he actually emails me. Like, this is very unusual usually you apply and you don't hear anything, or they'll just email you back. But he wanted to get more information about it. So he's really much in tune and more attentive to the community than most organizers, I would say. Yeah, and so that's where...
It's like AI tinkerers pretend to be an AI managed community, but Timothy tend to, after the AIs, he actually comes and
He's more
talk to you.
hands-on.
Yeah.
We can leave
so
it at that.
there's a bit more human touch to it.
Yeah,
so that's
sure.
probably why the community works well.
Yes,
So thanks to his hard work.
Yeah, and it's been going on ever since. And actually, we're always looking for venues. So anyone who's watching, we need venues to present our stuff and our findings.
You're looking for venues. And also you're looking for people to demo.
Exactly.
So if anyone who are willing to participate or already been participating in AI, they can contact you guys at AI Tinkerers.
And our next event is March 26th at the Hive. And we are actively looking for creative demos for that event.
And if you want to get into AI and you know nothing about it, you can just come by and talk to you guys, right?
Yes, and now there's a funny internal joke among us at AI Tinkers. The platform itself is quite opinionated on who it likes, but we override what the platform says about people. And so I like to keep it more egalitarian. As long as you bring interest, an open mind, and you want to learn, and you have a little bit something to contribute, that's great.
So don't be intimidated by that AI selections.
Yeah, well, yeah. Try not to be. Yeah.
And so the AI Tinkerers, basically, it's a monthly meeting that you guys bring, whoever is going to present, is bring that project and to show everyone. It doesn't have to be completely finished. It just, to show your progress.
Yeah, no, we like, so we say we like demos, technical demos, but some are just pure slides. Some are very raw things that barely work. From me, my perspective, I just want to see that the person worked at it. Yeah, they're experimenting, they were working at it. And some of our demos aren't even AI, like Jules had a demo that was just machine learning. Okay, that's another discussion.
But we have to have Jules, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think everyone loved it.
Yeah, no, I think we were all trying to become Bitcoin traders after that.
But I think it's like, a lot of us have imposter syndrome, right? We always think that, am I good enough? And is my stuff polished enough? But I see so far from what I have attended, you guys are not really looking for anyone who are very polished. You guys are actually really appreciative just when someone is trying. And because AI is such a new area, very often, sometimes when you try and fail, everyone seems to be able to learn more from that than here am I, the perfect solution.
Exactly. You're going to learn more or maybe even relate. Yeah, I ran into that same issue with that model. And so that's the thing with AI. I don't think there's some people, they might try to fashion themselves as AI experts, except for a handful of people. But even those experts openly admit that they can't keep up with everything. So it's more like we're learning together. We're all sort of pushing individually in sort of different parts of the frontier, and then we sort of share what we learn.
It's in some way it feels like the serving analogy is coming back. We're all serving different wave, and each wave coming in is differently. And some wave might suit some people, and other wave might suit other people, and we're all learning from each other.
Exactly. And so, to my point around building AI systems. When we were building these things, black box, we were just focused on getting it working. That was sort of the bar we were at. Now that we've got them working, I think the focus should be more on showing the users how things work. Part of it is sort of to mitigate sort of these behaviors that you mentioned, like believing that they're human. I don't think that's a healthy thing. You want to use these AIs as tools. You don't want the AIs to use you, right? They're collaborators. They're instruments. They're like really great hammers or calculators or abacus, I think. And so what I'm trying to do in my systems is I'm trying to separate out what is sort of the deterministic part from what is the reasoning and AI part. And I want to make sure that the users have a way to see that. That way they can sort of maintain sort of some semblance of what's really happening under the covers. Yeah. So that's sort of a trend that I foresee is like these systems we're trying to move towards more of that direction now.
But you're using I-Ching
yes.
to build an app
yes.
that you find that easy in your way that for you to A, understand what I-Ching is all about, B, to use this to show people how the AI is working.
Yeah, well, so you can think of the I-Ching. So the AIs, they all work based on context, sort of their short-term memory of what's happening, right? And so very basic, when you're just talking to ChatGPT, for example, the only context really is your conversation history. But when you're talking to sort of a more specialized application, something that might be I-Ching focused, the context that they're looking at might be the hexagrams that are related to the question that's being asked. And so I feel like one of the advantages of symbolic systems like the I-Ching is that these symbols, these hexagrams, they embed a lot of information within them. They're like compressed pieces of data. Even, let's just take AI out of it.
That sounds very mystical.
It is mystical. Like Mr. Sam, for example, when he sees Fellowship with Men or Marrying Maiden, he knows.
Yeah, the reference to this history.
His brain is, mine is going to be like a little bit small compared to his.
Samefei is known to be like that because I've been in live show with him for years, and no joke, because he can recite like verses
specific
from
lines,
like specific
very talented
book, like
man.
Zhou Yi or like Lai Gei, and then he can just boom, like he knows exactly that line. So he can do things that people cannot do.
I actually had to extend or change how my product worked for him because the way he wanted to use it was he wanted to double check what it was saying. So he didn't want a random hexagram. He wanted to say, I want this hexagram and I want this question and I want to double check what the AI is telling me. And of course, some of Fei's interpretations are much more textured and he's much more quick with his interpretation. But I've never seen that before. So usually the AI standard is higher than what you would normally encounter out in the wild. But Mr. Sam was very, very, very special in that case.
I was quite surprised, like when, like normally people will say this will not work, right? AI, it's almost like the same thing with Go, like computer cannot play Go. And then it's like AI would not have that human touch to deal with I-Ching. But like I thought it's like when you show like Samefei, like your work and like it hold up quite well.
And part of it is, well, I'm also learning from him and he's also giving a little bit of feedback. But to my point, the idea is these symbolic systems embed so much information, compressed information into their symbols that the AIs can use them as a way to boost the context, their short-term memory. So, right, if I just give the AIs, these strong AIs, like ChatGPT, the state-of-the-art ones, if I tell them about, hey, this question is just about hexagram marrying maiden, for example, it actually knows, because it has sort of a hazy knowledge of the entire internet, it knows that the marrying maiden incorporates concepts of shortcuts, being in the second position, composure, or how to behave yourself when you're not in the primary position, you're in the second position. Because the marrying maiden is talking about a younger sister marrying into the same family as the older sister who's actually married to the gentleman. So the secondary sister is a concubine. And so how does one supposed to compose themselves in that situation? And that's why it talks about shortcuts. Well, you're sort of getting a family that's already there, and how should you behave in that situation? And so there's all of these analogies and I don't know.
I think for I-Ching is probably like less people would know about it, but like maybe in the case of tarot card, right?
Of course, tarot.
Like tarot cards that, that they have certain meanings, like,
Yes,
like,
the Fool, for example. Creative energy, or the picture of the Fool.
If you don't have a very good memory, then AI can help you.
Yeah, it's a great, AIs are a great learning tool with language, with maybe Alex, we'll talk about that later. But they're great dynamic tools. And we as developers are sort of still learning how to best use them, I feel. Because the way I structured my apps in the very beginning, I don't think I was taking all advantage of the dynamism that was available from what AI could do. I was more treating it as an assistant, but these AIs are so powerful now that you could have them make the user experience much more tailored and custom and much more dynamic because they can reason on the fly with what's happening, right? And so
how do you do that? You just tell the AI that please be more like tailor-made.
I'm still figuring that out, but one of the ideas that people can explore is maybe having some elements of the UI be more dynamic based on what it knows about the user. So the user might be, so for example, there's this concept called progressive disclosure, right? So you don't want to show everything all at once to a beginning user. Right?
Yes, of course.
And so,
otherwise, you confuse them.
And so,
like in the very beginning, like if you're talking about education, right?
Yeah.
With people who just learning something, you don't want to give them half answer. Go yes,
exactly.
but no, because in some cases you can do that. You just you mitigate those because it's confusing.
And so the I-Ching has layers of meaning. And so what I've been sort of working on with my next project called 6 Lines is minimizing what's shown to beginners, but having other aspects, other layers of interpretation that are available for more advanced users. But I've not gotten to the point where the AI is using reasoning to determine what's shown. That's next. That's a research area. Maybe I need to get like smarter minds like William to help me. But that would be an area of research, is to have more dynamic UIs that are using reasoning to determine what is shown to you. Right now, I have very basic, binary gates and things like that. So it's not very advanced. Yeah.
Well, we have talked quite a while, and there's a lot of people's name coming up, and I think those are the people who should probably come to the interview next.
That's
and
right.
I need to quickly make a list of who they are.
Yes.
And
I didn't even talk about Jeremy, our resident hardware lawyer expert. Yeah.
Oh, God. So anyway, thanks to Auki Lab.
Yes.
10th floor, 10th level.
10th floor, research center. We're in their nice little open office.
And let's take a break, and then we'll come back, and then we'll talk more.
Yes. Thank you.